Hello, BookTube, and welcome to another weekly reading vlog. I'm not going to lie, I'm feeling pretty tired right now. I've been doing my best since I established this weekly reading vlog project to keep it going every week, but that doesn't mean that every week I'll necessarily be on top form. Today's been the end of a long day. Uh, uh, Wake up early, didn't get a lot of sleep last night, was working all day, and then had one of those nights where we just could not get the kids off to bed. And so coming at you late here, it's 10:30 at night, I guess, which isn't that late for you night owls, but it feels late for me after a long day. Um, all that is by way of making excuses and saying that maybe I won't talk so in depth about what I've been reading this week, even though what I've been reading this week is one of the foundations of Western literature. But I'm not sure if I'm going to have the energy to talk about this too much. But yes, I was traveling this past week back to my wife's hometown in Quang Ngai. I posted videos of that yesterday. It ended up being 5 videos in total, so apologies to anyone who is subscribed to me for taking up so much of your subscription feed if you use that page on YouTube. I did actually try to put it all together in one video, but my computer just couldn't handle it. Didn't have the space to process that huge video. So I had to break it down into day by day, which means like one video is like 30 minutes long and one video is like a minute and 45 seconds long. But breaking it by day seemed a logical way to break it up. Um, Also, while I'm apologizing for stuff, I apologize for how much that camera was shaking. And I've made this apology before. I mean, I'm aware that this is a common reoccurring thing with my travelogue videos. So while I was filming the videos this past week, I was trying to be conscientious about holding the camera steady and thought I was doing an okay job. You know, when you're holding it, I'm thinking to myself, oh, this is gorgeous. This is going to look so great, this scenery. But then when I'm watching it, I'm like, oh, why is it shaking so much? I don't remember shaking like that. I don't know. I've made the lament before on these weekly reading vlogs about my inability to get a steady shot with the travelogue. So I'm not going to rehash that all here. I'm just going to note note that the cinematography was less than ideal on those travelogue videos, and apologize for it. I'm going to still keep making them. You know, my philosophy is don't stop doing something just because it's not perfect. But apologies. Yes, and then in the last week's weekly reading vlog, I mentioned that I was going to take this one with me on vacation, and I might take the Iliad with me as a backup in case I finished this one. That was Sunday night I filmed that. Then come Monday morning, I had a change of heart and I just grabbed the Iliad instead. And I talked a bit about that on the started video I made for the Iliad. It was a belated started video because I didn't get back home to film videos. Well, I mean I had my camera with me, but I didn't get back to my computer and internet access until Friday. Um, yeah. Anyways, but yeah, I was thinking we're gonna be up at my wife's house in the countryside. I'm probably gonna have some time to hunker down and read. And I don't want to just spend that time. If I'm going to be reading for long stretches, occasionally my brain will get a little bit tired. And I thought it would help my motivation if I thought I was reading something worthwhile, like one of the classics, um, as opposed to this book I just found at a used bookstore rack randomly. Even though I have been enjoying this, so that's the reason one of the primary reasons I just grabbed the Iliad Monday morning. So made good progress on the Iliad, 260 pages. That's good for me. That's a good week for me. It's a reread, as I mentioned in my other video. I have read this before in middle school and in high school. So the story is very familiar to me. And the action, the style of the book is familiar to me. So yeah, sometimes you reread a book from high school or from middle school, and you realize you'd forgotten so much of it that it's essentially just like picking up the book all over again, like it's completely fresh to you. That has not been the case with the Iliad. I think because I read it a few times and because it was so memorable for me, and because in the years since I've read a few books that were based on it, other retellings of the Trojan War. Coming back to this, it's been largely just walking through familiar paces. The things that, yeah, there's the big moment scenes in the Iliad, like Menelaus fighting Paris, or Hector fighting Ajax, or Diomedes fighting Mars. There are those big moments. In between there's those big moments, there are just like a lot of random people getting killed. And of course, I didn't remember. I remember that there were long stretches of just like a bunch of random people getting killed. But of course, I didn't remember their names or the details of stuff like that. So those sections are interesting to read again. And the quarreling among the gods, I'm finding to be one of the most interesting parts of this book upon rereading it. I had completely forgotten the part where Neptune goes to help the Greeks after Zeus goes away for a while. And I thought that was really interesting. And Neptune, he's described as journeying to his palace under the ocean and getting his underwater horses and coming out from the water. It's like it's like Aquaman. That whole deep, mysterious under the sea mythos with that Neptune's got going for him. And then Neptune is like almost as powerful as Zeus. So when Zeus tells him he has to stop helping the Trojans, he gets really upset about it, and he almost brings himself to fight Zeus, but then gets talked out of it by the messenger. The quarreling of the gods among themselves, I'm finding to be the most interesting part of this book upon rereading it. There was another part. Where was this? Where the god Mars just finds out that one of his sons had been killed by the Greeks. And this is after Zeus has forbidden the gods to get involved. But he says, you know what? They killed my son. Nobody's going to blame me if I go down and kill a whole bunch of Greeks, and I don't even care what Zeus is going to do to me, Mars says. And then, where was that? Let's see if I can find that passage. Minerva, or Athena, grabs his horses as he's about to set off, and he says, "You madman, what are you thinking? You're gonna get Zeus mad at all of us. He's gonna end up crippling you, and you're gonna take ages to heal after Zeus strikes you down." And what makes this interesting, of course, is just a few chapters before, Minerva and Mars had been squaring off against each other. The famous scene where Minerva is driving the chariot of Diomedes. But by the way, apologies for going back and forth between the Roman and the Greek names. The translation I'm reading is using the Roman names for the gods, but I'm like most modern people, I'm more familiar with using the Greek names, and yeah. But the Roman names are on my mind now because I've just been reading this. Now I'm up to the part of the book now where Patroclus is begging Achilles to do something about the Trojans at the ships. Which means from this point on, the plot of the book is on rails. It's gearing up towards the death of Patroclus and then the final showdown between Achilles and Hector. Up until this point, the book has had much more of a kind of random adventures type vibe going. I mean, the overarching story, of course, is the quarrel between Achilles and Agamemnon. But you've got all these other side stories going on in between that. The fight between Paris and Menelaus, the deeds of Diomedes, Diomedes and Ulysses sneaking out at night to kill the Thracian king. What other side stories were there? The duel between Hector and Ajax. Did I mention that one already? But from this point, obviously, it's just the plot of the book. That if memory serves, there are no more side stories. It's just kind of barreling down now to Achilles. All leading up to Achilles' confrontation with Hector at the end. That'll be. I had a moment today where I thought, actually that was really stupid of me to start this book, because I'm a slow reader and I've got so many books that I'm halfway through with at the moment. I mean, Herodotus is still sitting on my shelves, halfway read. So I've already got one ancient Greek classic I'm not reading. Why did I start the other? The Bible, the complete stories of Oz. I've got all these massive books I've started but haven't been finishing. I really shouldn't have started this book, but I just gave into temptation. I think I've got a week of work coming up that's going to be a little bit lighter, fingers crossed. So hoping to grab like a couple hours, an hour maybe, a day at work and see if I can knock some of these off. The other thing is comic books, which, where did I put it? Oh, here it is. Getting these off from my school library. My school library has a lot of Tintin books, which I actually have never read. I think because they're not very popular in America. But I think they're much more popular in Britain, probably because of Britain's proximity to Belgium and France. And the school I work at is a international school, so I think what must have happened is there must have been a teacher from England, or maybe one of the dominions, Australia and New Zealand, who ordered a bunch of Tintin books for the library. Um, so I thought, why not work my way through them? Uh, there, I mean, obviously the ideal audience for these books is a child, but I'm kind of curious. You hear so much about Tintin, you see references to him everywhere, but I just never really read them. So I picked this one up pretty much just at random, but in discovering that there's a bit of a continuity to Tintin. There are references in this book to adventures that have come before, and the characters have developed. I assumed it was like the Uncle Scrooge comic books. Each adventure is completely completely independent. So what I did, since my school seems to have a big collection, I just went to Wikipedia and printed out the list of books in order. And then number one is Tintin in the Land of the Soviets, which I then picked up. And this is supposed to be one of the worst Tintin books, because it was, I guess it was written when the author, whose name is Herge, still had not perfected his craft. But it's the first one, so it's a logical place to start. 54 pages into it at the moment. I hate to say this, I'm finding it pretty tiresome. Like it's not good. But I'm gonna persevere. I mean, it's a comic book, so it's not too much work. Finish it, and I'll give it some sort of a review once I've finished it. So yeah, that's my update for this week. Yeah, I'm gonna finish here.